Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Happy today to be joined by Coach Garrett Estrin from the University of Hawaii Hilo men's program. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for being here. I'm guessing maybe it was like you. I've been to Hilo once and Hawaii once with my wife, and I think probably like everybody, immediately in about the third or fourth day, you start trying to figure out, okay, what do I have to do to change my job and live here? And so
Yeah,
so congratulations on the gig, which I know you
thank you.
just you kind of just got there recently, but let's you got a long coaching career, so we kind of tap on some of those experiences as well. Um, so what and maybe you probably haven't done a lot of this yet, but what's it like recruiting to a school that for a lot of kids might be, very far away and try to get that started?
Yeah, I mean it's been interesting so far. We've literally I kind of hit the ground running. Got announced the end of May, and then with some of the summer tournaments coming up in June and July, actually ECNL playoffs in June in SoCal in San Diego, and me being from Southern California, that actually played perfectly into my logistical location at that time, and so I was able to check that out and Surf Cup. But yeah, we're getting emails and interest literally from everywhere, every nook and cranny on the face of the earth. And we have some internationals here now, so there's a lot of interest in our program. As you mentioned, like being on an island is kind of unique. So
Sure.
yeah,
No,
it's a cool thing.
well, you mentioned ECNL, so where else is kind of going to be on your radar for the next year in terms of where you're gonna go to check out players? What tournaments are going to be kind of must see for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm originally from the desert area, Palm Springs of Southern California, and so that's where I call home. I grew up there, and then moved away for college, and then my wife and I relocated back there. But we have good roots there, so it's like that's central base, right? So you can get anywhere from there in about 2 hours when you're talking about San Diego, LA, Orange County. So a lot of those type tournaments, Silver Lake Showcase is something that I've always been to, typically coaching club, and I've been there as a college coach as well, and that's always a really great event over there in Norco, as well as Surf Cup and now ECNL playoffs when they're in the San Diego area. I mean, all those venues are great soccer venues with so much talent and people from all different states and regions.
Sure. Um, what about camps? Is that something you guys can do very well there, or do
So
you
I
like
hit
to do camps other places, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I've done ID camps, personal ones that I've run with other college coaches, a little bit during when things started to open up during COVID, when people started getting more comfortable. About a year into it, we started hosting some locally in Southern California, and then and we had D D2, D3, NAI, and JC level and at the time, and D1 wasn't allowed to attend those. So, I'm open to being involved with those. Exact is a company that I've done ID camps with before, and they have them regionally. So, whether it's Western region or Midwest region, or even going south and east, I'm open to going any direction. Um, and I mean, at the end of the day, there's players literally everywhere. So it's just about finding the right players that want to come to our program and that are a good match for our program.
Well, you mentioned finding the right player, so kind of give me an idea of what does that look like, both from an on the field and off the field aspects. What is it that you're looking for when you're either at a tournament or at a camp looking at players?
Yeah, I mean, a great question. I know a lot of people have different variables maybe they look at, but for me personally, I'm looking at players that are you know maybe well rounded. What are they like on the field as a teammate? Are they a a we before me type of guy? I mean, are they more about the team, and the team's outcome, their own, other than their own individual success? How do they treat their teammates on the field? How do they treat their staff, their coaches? How do they How do they, react when they come off the field during a substitution? How do they treat their family when they come off the pitch? All those things are things that I look at, because ultimately, if they're a jerk to their current coaches and their parents and their teammates, then more than likely they're going to be a jerk, when they come into your program. So to try and avoid those pitfalls, I like to keep an eye on those like intangibles as well. And again, like going back to, well-rounded is, what kind of student are they? Obviously, they're a student athlete and they're a student first. And so that'll take them a long way. And how well-rounded are they? What are their extracurricular activities? Are they involved in music or art? Are they involved in other sports? And sometimes the kids are just solely focused on the one sport. Sometimes they get burnt out, and especially if they don't have that outlet. So at the end of the day, maybe they're musically inclined or they're artistic in some other field. So yeah.
Okay. Um, in terms of, you know, bringing recruits on campus and letting them see campus, people always ask about official and unofficial visits, and maybe that's a little bit even more important for you because someone's got to fly there, right? So how do official visits work? What's your budget like for that, or is it mostly unofficial? How's it work there?
Yeah, another great question is so far what I've encountered, because I've been here such a short period of time, is we've had some people literally here on vacation that just cruise by the campus and want to check out the facility. And now, looking over, I guess it's my right shoulder, the new soccer facility, it kind of lends itself. People just literally drive into that parking lot, and during preseason, we're checking out, some training sessions. We had a family in from Germany that were just here for vacation. Son, of course, plays soccer, and he's only a sophomore, so he's kind of perusing and checking out the field. But we did that, even with our own daughter. We came and visited and checked out the school. At the end of the day, I think a lot probably will end up being unofficial visits, because I've gotten email inquiries from parents and potential student athletes that say, "Oh, we're going to be in town from this date to this date, and hoping to catch a game, and maybe if we could meet somebody from the staff." So seems to be a lot of that currently. Again, official visits for me, it's too early, just because I haven't had that opportunity to really get my feet wet with that,
Yeah.
just because I just got here
Right.
literally before we started preseason. So
No, it makes sense. Um, it, a lot of parents, one of the first questions they want to know about is what's it going to cost me? So uh, can you just give me a general idea what the overall scholarship and financial aid picture looks like at the school, not just on the athletic side, but academic and other scholarships, and kind of what is an average player coming in?
yeah, so basically, if you're like living on campus in a dorm, you're looking at in the neighborhood of like 21,000 and change. And I don't know if these are current figures. This is from the 21-22 academic year, so I guess, I
Sure.
mean, as current as I can give you. So I mean, meals and housing, we're looking at neighborhood of just over 8,000, and we've got tuition in there as 7,300 and change, and we've got different books and supplies be 1,350. So that's if you're living in one of the residence halls. Obviously, there's different fees for depending on which dorms you're living in. We have several different housing options, and then there's also a breakdown for living off campus that puts it more in the neighborhood of 34, just under 35. And again, these are not with inflation over the course of the
Don't
last
worry,
year.
I'm not holding you to hard numbers here.
Right.
Just
So yeah, and that's for in-state. So out-of-state, non-resident, we're looking that first number I gave you, living in the dorms, goes from 21 to 34, and if you're living off campus, it goes from 34 to 47.
okay.
So, in terms of scholarships, I think you were asking as well.
Yeah.
Not to neglect that, we have a combination of good programs available through athletics, whether it be tuition type based waivers or scholarship based. So we have pretty good packages that we can put together. I mean, we have 5 internationals currently on the roster. We only have 5 in-state players, so it's not like we're all Hawaii-based players either. So that's 10 players right there, and we have a bunch of California-based players, and then we have some neighboring states where they get the WUI discount for being a Western state, and we even have a kid from Michigan. Talk about drastic change in weather. So, and he's actually, we have 3 transfers this year, 2 out of the portal and 1 JUCO transfer. But the 2 out of the portal both were it's a D1 and D2 transfer out of the state of Illinois. And so again, I'm sure they're enjoying this weather. Even with our daily rain, it's still like a 70-degree rain, as opposed to an ice chilly.
Right. Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. Like I said, I've been lucky enough to visit the city. Didn't get to check out the school, but as a new person there to the school, kind of what are some of your first impressions of things that are really cool, really awesome that you like and that you think recruits might like as well?
Yeah, I've actually gone through this with some of all of our players, and things that they like about being here, for the new ones and for the returners. And some of the things that came out, and I agree, is there's just a kind of a great vibe you get when you get here on campus. The Hilo community is very welcoming. Just everybody, they talk about ohana here, being family and whatnot, and so I think that kind of rings true when you're in an athletic department like this, because it's not a huge athletic department. We don't have football. And so we had our first contest on Sunday, and we had a volleyball team there. We had men's basketball. We had women's soccer. I mean, we had, various other athletes, men's golf. I mean, you really got that support from other sports, and you really did feel like you were part of a family. And so I think that's the vibe you get around here is, you get that personal touch, I would say.
No, that's great. Well, in terms of, students being students, not just athletes, how do your players kind of balance their studies and their commitments to the sport? I know it's early in your season, but I'm sure you got some long travel you'll have to have. So how does that all come into play, and what kind of support mechanisms does the school provide to help everybody with that?
Yeah, we actually have an academic success lab, and we have a great academic advisor for student athletes, and we actually have one as well for our international student athletes too. So they have a separate one specifically for our internationals. And so if you're an incoming student, you're actually asked to put hours in during the week in that academic lab, so you can make sure you're getting your studying in. One sport may vary from the other, just depending on what the coach is requiring. Currently, all our freshmen and all our transfers are required to put in hours during the week. And then also our academic advisor, she also requires student athletes, if they're in a certain GPA range, to put in hours. So that way, if they're needing a little bit of extra study time, that they're getting it done. Because it is a time management crunch, being a student athlete. We expect a lot of them, they're a student first and foremost, like you mentioned, and it's a delicate balancing act, and a lot of them do a great job at it. We have some that have been past semesters before my arrival, academic scholar athletes, through the conference and through the university. So we really want to promote that, and again, being a student athlete first and foremost, putting student ahead of that is really important, so we can keep them doing what they're supposed to be doing in the classroom and on the field.
No, that's great. Well, I know you talked about your early morning practice this morning, but can you kind of just walk me through, maybe this week is a good example. Just what does a typical week look like for a player in terms of when are they training, eating, going to class, travel? What does all that look like on an average week?
Yeah, awesome question. So, well, I'll take last week and this week. So last week was our first game, but it wasn't until Sunday. So we really had all week to prepare for it. And it was only the second week of school. So we changed our schedule once school started from double days, obviously, to go in singles. And then, so we're Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, we're 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. training. And then we share the facility, obviously, with our women's team. So, we got to balance that out. And so then Tuesday, Thursdays, we really drastically change it up. We go 6 a.m. to 7:30. We're on the field and off the field because, again, we're sharing the facility. So women's soccer comes in, and then we go straight from there into strength conditioning on those 2 days. We don't want to do really heavy weights here in season. We're just trying to keep them kind of more of a maintenance thing and be able to work on, different areas of the body, injury prevention. And we get them in and out of there in an hour. If they want to stay longer, they can. But I mean, we're not keeping them longer than that because a lot of them have classes to get on to after that. And then, last week in preparation, we're doing team meetings, game planning and whatnot on Friday night in preparation for Sunday. And then Saturday was kind of just a walkthrough for like set plays and, a little bit of competition, but nothing too crazy. And then, really prepping, like I said, for the competition the next day, walkthroughs with set pieces and how we're matching up. And this week is slightly different. We had the match Sunday, so Monday holiday, actually they got the day off. So a little bit of recovery from the game, which is necessary and required. And so we got back into it today, and then tomorrow, Thursday, and then we play on Friday. So then we'll be traveling to the Bay Area. So this week's going to be looking a little bit different for all of us, me included, because now we're prepping for one opponent on Friday, prepping to travel the following day, and prepping for two opponents in the Bay Area. So this will be a good test for all of them because now we throw in, the travel to the mainland and how that affects us, and hopefully it doesn't. But at the end of the day, we'll get there a couple of days before our first match, and then play on September 12th and 14th, and then travel back the following day. So that's definitely going to be a lot for them to balance, but I'm sure that's something they can handle. Especially the returners can help the new players because we pretty much have like a 50-50 split right now of returners and incoming players, and so hopefully the guys with experience can kind of lend the helping hand to the new players.
Okay. Well, speaking of players, do you have a roster size that you are looking to hit? I mean, I understand this year may be an anomaly since you started so early, but let's just think about next year. Is there a specific roster size you would like to have there?
Well, I will say we did start at 27 this year. We started at 27 this summer before I arrived. And then unfortunately we had 3 injuries to players, 1 international who was a returner and 2 domestic players that all 3 of them had surgeries, so they did not make it on campus. And 2 will be here in the spring. And so you go immediately from 27 to 24, but you think, oh, it's still an okay number. But as you know, I mean, once you start getting into it, that changes drastically. So, we went from 24 and we've got, maybe 22 healthy, and then you have another couple get banged up. So, I think that 27 number is a good number to shoot for. We travel 18 for most of our trips. We will travel 21 at the end of the season because we have a huge 4-game in-conference road trip. And because we have 4 games over a span of 10 days, we'll take some extra bodies. But yeah, it's a little bit challenging because you're not just hopping in a bus or a van, you're hopping on a plane. So we do have some constraints on maybe travel size, but definitely if I can hover between like 27 to 30 in case, what has happened this summer happens again, you're still okay. Because right now with 1 game under our belt, we've gotten a couple of bumps and bruises, and then again, the numbers start to alter slightly, and then you're starting to get a little bit worried about who's available for your road trip. So,
Right. What about we talked about roster size. What about staff size? What's your staff look like? What support staff does the athletic department offer to help the program as well?
Yeah, so we have a fairly small staff here. We have one assistant that's been here with pretty much most like iterations of the soccer program. He kind of kept the program afloat until they hired me, Terry Imane, and he's done a great job of just keeping things going. He did a lot of the recruiting until I got hired, and all the logistics. And so I'm really grateful for that because when I got here, I could just, really get into things and not have to worry about like the minor details that he already handled. And then I brought another coach in from California, from my area, and he's helping with tactics and technical and strength conditioning. And then we have two volunteer assistants, and one happens to be a business professor on our campus, and one is a former player, and he's been on staff, but due to his work commitment, he can only be a volunteer assistant this year. So it's really, the three main ones, and then business instructor. He's almost like a faculty liaison, if you will, for our program, but he's definitely available and provides like scouting for us and whatnot. And then whenever they're available, both volunteer assistants, are definitely beneficial to have more people around. So it's a fairly small staff in that respect, but then we have really good support from our athletic department as well. And our associate athletic director is very hands-on, and our athletic director is very interested in the sport of soccer because his past history at some other programs that he's had success with. So he takes a lot of pride in all sports, but I know he's really pushing to make sure soccer stays in the mix and is competitive in the Pac West. So.
No, that's tremendous. Well, you've given us a lot of info here, and I appreciate the time. And I always like to end these with kind of the last thing is what else would you like folks to know? What didn't we talk about, whether it's school related, soccer related, recruiting related, whatever you want. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I would just say that, and another great question is we're just in a very unique environment, and not many schools can say that they're literally on an island, especially for men's soccer. It's us on the Big Island here, and Hilo, and then there's only two other over on in Oahu, and so not many can make that claim. And I would say just come check out, on your next vacation, or come check out a game of ours on the mainland, and see if this program's a good fit for you. And like I said, we're gaining a lot of interest from all over, and it's really exciting times.
Awesome, Coach. Well, I wish you the best of luck in this first season, and you're off to a good start at 1-0. So just keep that going, and I think I'll have to convince my wife that I need an in-person interview somehow, and to get
Hey,
back over there. That's for sure.
pre and post game interviews, I think, would be perfect, and
It's
gotta get
great.
you over.
Great idea. Well, if you manage to find your way as far away from Hilo as possible and in Bradenton, Florida, give me a shout,
We'll do.
and we'll do it the other way. So I appreciate
All
it,
right.
Coach, and best of luck.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.